Although it's early January, I'm already starting to think about the glowworm season. It's still at least a month or 6 weeks or so away from when the first glowworm larvae are likely to appear. And appear will be on this stretch of Clipstone Old Quarter. This behind me is the bottom end of section A. It used to be a grass strip, but since the mowing ceased a number of years ago, the scrub has since developed, and the whole of the grass area has more or less become entangled with bracken and bramble. Something needs to be done, or should I say something needed to be done. Because something has been done. It looks wonderful, especially if, like myself, you've walked past this stretch of ground for the last 5 years and gradually seen it become increasingly overgrown. After all, this is one of the most famous glowworm sites in the whole of the UK. It's well known, even across Europe, for regularly producing the first glowworm of the year. And now we can see the grass again. This, of course, is Clipstone Old Quarter, well known for its coverage of glowworms, largely by Dillis himself, spending well over 1,000 evenings up here monitoring each and every female glowworm that the site produced and that we could find. And aside from just monitoring the female glowworms, the first few months of the year was spent surveying this particular path for larvae. And that typically took place from early to mid-March right through to early to mid-May, depending on the season. This very famous grass strip, part of the Susterns route through Nottinghamshire, became well known both UK and Europe wide for its glowworm colony. This is one of the best areas for glowworms in the UK, and certainly one of the best studied. But over recent years, this site became overgrown through a lack of management. Management between several parties couldn't decide who should cut it, years after somebody at least cutting it once a year and maintaining it as a grass strip. It got so bad, as you've just seen in the opening clip of this video, it became totally overgrown with bramble and bracken, and in the last few years the encroachment of oak and birch and pine scrub became great. Where I'm standing now, in the middle of section A, it's been a number of years since I've been able to stand here, and directly in a line in front away from the camera was the route that I used to walk through the grass over 1,100 times. I walked the grass checking for glowworms, and Dillis walked the path checking for glowworms on that side. But it's so pleasing to see that the promised work to help restore this site to its former glory has at least been started, and more of the area has been done than was originally planned. Although some parts of the grass strip have yet to be cleared, we're at least well underway. Maybe the glowworms that seem to have suffered here in the last few years can now begin to start and make a comeback. But the good thing is that at least this grass strip can be surveyed once again. But it will take a while. The grass needs to make a comeback, and grass is very quick at making comebacks. Unfortunately, so also is bramble. But now the worst of the work, the hardest part of the job has been done. Let's hope that somebody has now been sorted out to cut this annually, either from September onwards or before March. Coming up here today on what is an absolutely glorious winter's day. There has been a good frost overnight, but now it is pleasantly warm, and certainly if you stand in the sun there's some warmth being generated. But it's really lifted me, this, because this is the most positive bit of conservation I've seen. It's created something, and I can see what's been created to restore this, or begin the restoring process of this part of Sherwood Forest back to how it used to be. It really was the most marvellous sight. It was just a grass strip, but with elements of heathland in it, especially the further up there that you go. I'm now in section B, and section B sort of drops down into the lowest part of the site. You get section C running from the dip further up, and I can already see that some scrub and certainly the heather has been left in section D. The site is so much better now, and it's had to be done by heavy machinery. There was no way you could have done it without it. All credit to the Sherwood Forest Trust for organising this and getting everybody together and sorting something out. This is the best bit of conservation work I've seen in the forest ever. It seems extremely strange standing here again at the back of section B. I dread to think how many white labels are still in this grass, or at least underneath it now, over time. As part of the recording and survey work Dillis and I did on the glowworms here, the presence of each female was marked with a white plant label which was numbered. And that was my job, really. I looked for the plant labels around any females that appeared, and that way we knew the glowing dates from when a female first appeared to when it was mated. It was the only way you could survey for glowworms and monitor the females, and there was a lot of interesting data accumulated over time. But to see this site now like this just fills me with excitement, makes me look forward to when the first larvae will be out on that path in about 2 months' time. It won't take long for the grass to grow back. By March there will already be signs, and probably by June you'll hardly be able to tell that it was cleared. Brilliant stuff. And here is one of our said markers. This was for female 399, And this is the bottom of section C, so it'll be very easy for me to go home and find out exactly on what dates this female glowed for. There are literally hundreds and hundreds of these tucked from here all the way up there and where we've just walked. And finding something like this brings back a lot of memories of many fond nights surveying for glowworms. Indeed, glowworm surveying became our life, really. And to be honest, Dillis enjoyed it more than I did. She was the key in us going out every night. There were some nights when I wanted to moth trap or just stay in. Dillis wanted to come up here, wanted to record these. It's the one thing when there's two of you, you can spur each other on to continue to record, even if one day you perhaps don't feel like it. See how many more of these I pick up going up there. And this is the bottom of the new look section D. And they have left around the stands of heather that grow up on the left hand side of this track. There obviously is some scrub work, some scrub clearance work that wants to be done just to remove the scrub. But they would also be better off cutting the heather now before it gets too leggy and past its sell-by date. Walking up through section C, I did find a couple more labels, like so. Female 242, and the other one is worn, but it's number 25 something, and it could have been 25 of course, but I used to put a naught before, but they're the only figures that I can see, so maybe it was female 25, and that was at the top of section C. So I will trace those dates, and where I can I'll insert them. See, there's even a squirrel there that's enjoying the ease at which it can now cross the grass strip. It had become pretty much impenetrable. You couldn't walk it. And although heavy machinery has been used, there was no choice by this time, which was unfortunate. But it was clear on the number of surveys I did in 2021 and in 2020 that glowworms had considerably dropped in numbers on this stretch. Three more labels I've picked up walking up through section D. There's the very end of a label here of number 84. See, I put the 0 and then 84. That's quite faded down, a small label. But we also had female 170, and then I've just picked this label up, which was used twice. It was used to mark out 384 from a previous year. But then it was also used, what was probably the following year, to mark female 34. I love finding these. Just brings it all back. All those nights recording and why we did it. and the knowledge we gained from it. And here we are, about 2/3 of the way up section D. That is the beautiful centre tree, slap bang in the middle, at the top of this green drive. And of course, centre tree stands on Broad Drive, which runs up from the major oak, from the Sherwood Forest Country Park. It's so pleasing to see it back like this. And I'm quite looking forward now. I was undecided what glowworm surveying I was going to do this coming spring and summer. I was contemplating the idea of going here, there and everywhere to check up on other sites. I may well be doing most of the recording and surveying here, because now it will be interesting to see how a number of glowworms recover, to see where they are actually at. See, the big problem with the last couple of years, you couldn't get in here to survey it. You couldn't walk it. In places you could walk in, but then have to walk straight out again the way you came. Whereas before, say, I used to walk this whole length, it's more or less a mile by all accounts, straight down the middle, or variations of this grass strip. I say, Dillis used to be looking for glowworms either side of the path. Thankfully, a lot of the vegetation from that side of the path has been cleared as well. It wouldn't hurt to still take a few of the pine trees out that's coming over the edge. But a lot of the glowworms on this grass strip, from section A at the bottom right up here to section D, the glowworms would either be quite close to the path on the right of your screen, or on a line to where the scrub trees still remain on the left here. It was often that a lot of glowworm larvae obviously came out of either side and then found somewhere suitable to pupate. Stood here just underneath the centre tree. Not this is just a pine, but it has had the hoverfly Epicerphus balteatus sat on it, which is a super early year record. I did get one on Budby on New Year's Eve, on a day that was equal to this. It really is glorious. Well, I didn't need to put this brown jumper on today. Between you and me, I'm becoming increasingly well known as being something of a Michael Portillo of polo neck jumpers. I have no idea where they get that from. Still, gives them something to talk about, as does the work that's gone on at Clipstone Old Quarter. Fantastic that at last something has been done. Our constant moaning for the last 4 or 5 years of when is this place ever going to get cut again, and then thinking last year that nothing will ever get done because it got far too in a bad state. Progress, and progress that I like.